For question 1, how do you define inflation in general?
In economics, inflation is defined as an increase in the overall price of goods and services in a given economy. When the general price level rises, each monetary unit buys less product and services. As a result, inflation equals a loss of money purchasing power.
For question 2, what are the types of inflation?
Cost push inflation and demand push inflation are the two basic types of inflation. Prices rise in the first because the cost of production has increased, while prices in the second because demand exceeds supply, resulting in an excess price of available output.
How does inflation give you impacts?
Okay, one of the impact of the inflation is it will cause the nation's currency to decline.
So is the inflation is giving a good or bad way?
Actually, the inflation will give both goods and bad. It is good because it helps the consumer to meet their demand, but it is bad because it reduces the purchasing power of the consumer.
Next, what are the inflation factors that affect cost of living?
So inflation determines the changes in the cost of living, but inflation is not the only factor affecting your actual cost of living, such as the money you have to pay every month, as well as the change in the price of goods and services. A key factor is how expensive is it to live in a particular area. This will depend on factors such as taxes, healthcare, transport, and the cost of renting or buying a house. For example, in cities like Kuala Lumpur and Johor Bahru, the cost of living is very high because of expensive housing. Even if inflation was very low for a few years, it would do little reduce to the cost of living in that particular cities. Furthermore, when we look at the cost of living, it is essential to bear in mind factors like interest rates, average house price or rents, necessary spending on transport, healthcare cost, and taxes. For instance, during the COVID pandemic in 2020, if people worked from home rather than take an expensive commute, their cost of living would fall because they no longer need to pay for transport. Yeah, that's all.
Wow, very beautifully explained. So,
How can we measure inflation?
Okay, so we can measure inflation by using Consumer Price Index or called CPI. The difference between initial CPI and final CPI divided by initial CPI. The result then multiplied by 100 gives the inflation rate.
What exactly CPI?
CPI is the instrument to measure inflation. As I answered at the previous question, CPI used to calculate the average variation in household product price between two given periods. It is a composite measurement of product price trends at constant quality.
Okay, so due to the inflation, how import affect our country?
A weaker national currency encourage export while making import more expensive. On the other hand, a strong national currency discourage export while making import cheaper. Higher inflation can also have an impact of export by increasing the cost of inputs such as materials and labor.
Okay, how to avoid lifestyle inflation?
Unfortunately, lifestyle inflation is also too common because it often begins with minor decisions. Small spending decision can add up to a very expensive lifestyle over time. So consider the risk of lifestyle inflation when making budget decision? Or will it help to reduce your lifestyle without significantly improving?
Okay, last question is, can you suggest ways to overcome inflation in general?
You can also use the lifestyle of inflation just right now, or also in general, government also can put a higher interest rate on for people who are saving for saving. So people interest in more saving than spending the money.